Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. One of my viewers wanted to know what was the difference between the black fantasy promoted on the SJS Direct imprint and the black superhero and fantasy movies we see in the mainstream, like 2018's Black Panther, 2022's Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and Disney's upcoming reboot of The Little Mermaid featuring Halle Bailey. Well, the difference between your mainstream projects like Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and the Little Mermaid reboot and an SJS Direct product have to do with the themes, and it has to do with the message in the stories. Now, when it comes down to many of these mainstream media projects, such as your Black Panther Wakanda Forever, or your Little Mermaid reboot, yes, passively they will include black characters, but aggressively in many of these projects they feature anti-black themes in the undertones and the theme of the overall project. For example, with 2018's Black Panther, yes, we finally got to see a black superhero on screen passively, but aggressively everything was done to undermine T'Challa so that he would not be a strong masculine hero who would go out here and be a role model to young black boys. Moreover, they put such a gynocentric theme in that film that your T'Challa was basically marginalized and emasculated in a movie with his own name. And even worse, for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, your T'Challa is killed in his own movie, and your Shuri is taking over. And as your Shuri is taking over, we see her having to deal with your Namor, the Submariner, which basically is turning your Black Panther from a film franchise and a comic book concept that was about a strong masculine man protecting Wakanda from invaders and threats to the kingdom, to a so-called swirling movie where we're going to have your Namor basically looking to go out here and invade Wakanda and basically possibly look to swirl it up with Shuri. And with Disney's Little Mermaid, we have them, yes, passively giving us Halle Bailey as a black Ariel, but aggressively they didn't change any of the cast to reflect the change in Halle Bailey's ethnicity. No, we have Javier Bardem playing King Triton, a Hispanic man with white roots, and then we have a white actor playing Prince Eric. So basically, your Little Mermaid is another, again, passively including a black woman, but aggressively promoting anti-black racism, because instead of giving us a black prince to show black on black love, what we get is a project which again promotes themes that are all about sending a message to young black children that in order for them to be part of the world, they need to find white acceptance. That is the undertone of all three of these movies I have presented as examples, and it's a major undertone in a lot of themes of a lot of mainstream projects that have African American heroes, and it's a very self-destructive message to send to young boys and girls, because sending them a message that tells them that they can only be somebody if they are accepted by white people, this is something that makes them spellbound. And I go in depth on this in my novel Spellbound, where I talked about how the Matilda Crowley character learned about fitting into a black box that is acceptable to white people. And when you have black children learning this at an early age, what they do is learn to try to conform themselves into stereotypes. And as they try to conform themselves into stereotypes to make themselves acceptable to white people, what happens is those young children never really learn how to love themselves or learn how to gain acceptance from just being themselves. No, instead, what they learn is how to be accepted only if a white person pays them attention, only if a white person gives them approval, or if a white person allows them to come into their social circles. That's when the black person feels like they have some sort of self-esteem or has some sort of self-worth, and that is a toxic frame of thinking for a young black child to have. And this is the type of thinking that children get when they imbibe mainstream media like your Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and your Disney's Little Mermaid remake. And many black parents, they're sitting there thinking, oh, this is representation, but this is not representation that teaches you a sense of self-worth or a sense of value, and that's what makes this type of content very dangerous for black children to go out here and imbibe. And as the publisher of SJS Direct, I know how dangerous this kind of media is to the black mind, and that's why I tailor my media with positive black messages, and I try to put positive themes in my material and in the undertones of my material so that young black children who read my material or adults who read my material see that black isn't about getting white acceptance. No, it is about us going out here and discovering our value as human beings, finding out our sense of self-worth, and working towards actualizing our potential as people. This is a completely different theme than what is presented in Disney or mainstream media, where every image you see is of a black person going out here seeking the approval of a white person. No, in my material, I show black men and women and black boys and young girls finding their worth for being who they are and not looking to get the approval of a white man. For example, in my young adult novel, Spellbound, I have the Matilda Crowley character who is biracial, and she is not looking to go out here and try to fit into a black box that is acceptable to white people. No, as she starts her journey into the goth subculture, she goes out here and looks to try to find out who she is as a black woman, and what she wants to do is go out here as she's exploring the goth subculture, exploring the darker side of black culture, and finding out who she is as a person as she enters the goth scene and creates this Black Widow persona that enables her to build up her self-confidence. And in books that I do, like the Isis series, I show the Isis character. She's a black goddess, but she's a black goddess who goes out here and seeks to help people. And as she's helping people, she's learning about them. But as she's learning, she's also teaching a sense of black pride and a sense of black self-worth. For example, in the story, The Beauty Myth, we have Isis taking on an evil black female cosmetics owner, Rahima Sanders. And in that story, while she's struggling with some issues as related to her feeling awkward as related to her beauty, she then runs into Rahima Sanders' character, and she goes out here and shows how deep self-hatred can go in black women. And again, it's a story steeped in themes that again teach black pride, teach black self-worth, and also teach that we have to find value in beauty, and that beauty comes from within. So when I go out here and I write a story, I try to make sure that the themes and the undertones of those themes are themes that go out here and make black people see a positive side of themselves, And I'll give another example with the story E-Steam, The Sands of Time. Now, the E-Steam Sands of Time story I wrote intentionally to show that you could go out here and create a story with a black princess in the style of the Disney princesses. And as I was doing the story in the style of a Disney princess story, I wanted to show how you could go out here and put positive themes as related to a black princess. And it wasn't about her going out here and seeking out the validation of some white man. No, it was about her building up her confidence, and it was about her going out here and doing the right thing by helping John Haynes return to his time. And it was all about her having the strength of character to go out here and make a sacrifice for love. And it was a lot of positive themes in Sands of Time. And what I wanted to do was show that it wasn't about finding some man to go out here and save you, but it was about going out here and doing what was right and waiting for the right time to be with the right man. So there's a lot of different themes I put into my stories. And again, as I'm imagining the imagery, I'm imagining black people in these images. For example, when I was doing Sands of Time, I would imagine Samuel L. Jackson as Osiris, and I would imagine Angela Bassett as Queen Isis, and I would imagine black people in these images. But one of the things that's very different, again, is the undertones and the themes of my stories. I want people to see black people in a positive light, and I want to inspire and uplift black people so that they can see their worth as people. And I also did this in a novel called The Thetas. Now, The Thetas was a story of a black sorority, and it was a story of black women coming together to give a pledge back her mother by showing how her mother changed their lives. And I wanted to show how women go out here and help each other, and I wanted to show how there was a sisterhood as related to black women, and how that sisterhood is about having the strength of character to help out another sister. And again, I'm always trying to put positive black themes in my books. And again, none of my books are about white validation. None of my books are about white approval. They're not about getting acceptance from a white man or a white woman. I mean, when I go out here and I put fingers to a keyboard, I put fingers to a keyboard so that you can see a story where the black people are not going out here chasing white people. No, I had enough of that watching garbage like The Jeffersons, and it just turns me off. And I thank God I grew up in an era where the legend and an icon like Bill Cosby went out here and gave us The Cosby Show. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't appreciate The Cosby Show, but when I got into my 20s, I really started to appreciate everything Bill Cosby did, and I really appreciated growing up in an era where I got to see a black man running his family, a black man showing healthy children like I was growing up, and showing us that we didn't need any white person to be validated or get approval from. That was one of the things I loved about The Cosby Show, and it was one of the things I loved about watching movies like Spike Lee used to make, and movies like the Hudlin brothers made with House Party, which I consider to be one of the greatest teen movies ever made for black children, because you didn't see anyone in House Party looking to gain the approval of a white person. No, it was all about black people hanging out, black people doing what black people do, and black people living their lives like I did growing up. And I appreciate growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, where we just saw like what I call a black renaissance and a black golden age, where we saw not only a diversity of black entertainment, but we saw diversity of thought, and we saw a lot of different stories and concepts. And that's what I wanted to build on when I was 17 years old. When I was 17 years old, I saw things changing with Ice Cube and the NWA, and I saw the shift as related to entertainment, and I said I want to go out here and create positive stories, and I want to show a richer picture of the black experience, and I wanted to add to everything that Bill Cosby laid the foundation for, and guys like Spike Lee and Bill Duke and many others. I want to continue building on their foundation, and that's what I try to do with SJS Direct books. When I come out here with an SJS Direct book, I always try to, again, I'm giving you the stories and themes that show you black people as humans and people who live human lives. And I want to show you rich multi-dimensionality in those stories, so you see a larger picture of black life, and you see that there's not just one black culture. There are many black cultures and many subcultures, like the Black Goth subculture, were places of the black community many in the mainstream won't explore, because many of your white racists out here, they only want you to see one black community, and that is one that makes them feel comfortable about their smooth world. And the only people they want to see are people who basically fit their narrative. Like when we look at 2018's Black Panther, we've got T'Challa seeking white validation, and then they're slipping in images like that guy with the plate lip, or that guy with the T'Challa and Killmonger in grass skirts. They put in their racist imagery, but when you look at an SJS Direct book, you don't see that racist imagery. For example, if you were to look at John Haynes at Death's Door, you saw a strong image of black masculinity. You saw a positive image of black manhood, and you saw a humanized image of black manhood. And I talked about this in depth in another video, where I talked about how they had your Miles Morales, Thor, acting like a ghetto dude. But when I show you John Haynes, who is a CEO of Morris Phillips and is considered to be the man who rules the world on Time magazine, I show you an image of a black man wielding power, wielding it responsibly, and his neighborhood isn't a hood. No, like Dr. Huxtable, your John Haynes is a polished black professional, and that's what I show you as the image of black manhood. And again, it shows you a major difference between how a black creator like myself, who's running SJS Direct, shows you black manhood, versus your mainstream media, where all they show you is an image of black manhood, where he basically looks like a clown and his neighborhood is basically a hood. And again, as somebody who grew up in the hood in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, I can tell you most of the black people there, we didn't want our neighborhood to be a hood. Many of us were looking to raise our standards. Many brothers and sisters who were out here putting in work because they wanted a better quality of life. But your whites in mainstream media, they think all we are is graffiti, hoopties, Jordan sneakers. That is not who we are. No, we are far more than that. And we never get to see that picture of life unless black producers like Bill Cosby come out and make it in media. But usually it's small independent guys like me who go out here and make these kinds of images, because I want kids to see, and adults to see, a bigger world of black life, and I want you to see a richer picture of black life. And that's why I go out here and I write books like The Thetas, or A Recipe for Success, where I talk about black sororities, or I talk about black-owned businesses like I did in A Recipe for Success. And I talk about how you've got all these educated black professionals, and they're building in their own community, and they're taking care of business. And when I do books like the ISIS series or the E-Steam series, again, I give you black fantasy, but that black fantasy has positive themes and undertones, and those positive themes and undertones, what they do is when kids and adults read them, it just completely changes their whole perspective of black life. And what this material does is it opens people's eyes and inspires them to be better. I mean, when I have books sold out here, and I've had fathers give books in the ISIS series to their daughters, they say that their daughters it changes how they see themselves, and it makes them see a completely different perspective on themselves. And I've had black goths come in and say that the Spinsterella trilogy basically opened their eyes to see black goths in a completely different light. And I've had non-goths see that, oh, there's a black goth subculture, there's black people in the goth subculture. And I've had young boys and young men pick up the John Haynes series, and they come out of that book with a sense of pride, and they come out of those books, feeling inspired that they could be like a John Haynes, a guy who goes out here and presents a positive image of black manhood and black masculinity, and they believe they can aspire to be a CEO like John Haynes, or be a guy who takes care of his own business in his personal life. They come out of a John Haynes book, again, feeling inspired, and that's what many young brothers and sisters need to do. They need this kind of media because, again, it inspires them, it uplifts them, it makes them think better about themselves, and it makes them see that there is a place for themselves in the world by themselves as a black person, without needing a white person to tell them who they are, or tell them that they need some white person to validate them in order for them to feel valuable. No, when they come out of an SJS Direct book, they understand I can be a valuable person by just being myself. And there's that being black is beautiful, being black is intelligent, being black means you can go out here and be who you want to be, and you don't need some white person to tell you who you are. That is the core message of an SJS Direct book. Again, I want you to open your eyes and not see, oh, I need a white person to tell me who I am. I need a white person to make me feel good about myself. I need to be a part of a white person's world to find my value and my worth. No, God did not make you to be deifying and worshiping white people, and that's why it's very important for young black children to go out here and pick up material like I present on the SJS Direct imprint, because the material I present on the SJS Direct imprint is all about going out here and showing you a larger world of black people, and showing you a world of black people where we are out here living our lives. We are out here doing things on our terms. We are out here loving who we are, and we are out here loving each other. That is another key element in SJS Direct books that you won't see in your mainstream media, where they always have your women like your Ariel fawning over some white man in their Little Mermaid remake, or your Shuri out here probably pining for your Namor. No, that's not in an SJS Direct book. When you read a book like Temptation of John Haynes, you have John Haynes and Easting, two black people sharing love with each other. And when I do other romances like Spinsterella or A Recipe for Success, I always show you a black man loving a black woman. And even in books like Eternal Night, my vampire novel, you still see a black on black love in those stories, and you see a theme of pushing black on black love. That's not something you're going to get in the mainstream at all. No, even in shows like Static Shock in the first season, they were pushing Virgil with Frida. But as the seasons went on, the show became popular. You notice how they swapped in Daisy because they understood black love was important. But black love is a core foundation of an SJS Direct book. And whenever you see an SJS Direct book, I always talk about black self-love, and I also talk about black people loving each other, because I believe that you are what you read. And when you go out here and create media, it needs to present, again, images that teach you how to love being black, love yourself, because if you read this type of material, it's going to go out here and change the way you think about yourselves. And again, I hear from lots of readers who tell me, hey, I read this John Haynes book or this Isis or Easting book, and it basically changed the way I saw black people, and it basically showed some black people a different side of themselves that they never saw before. And again, I have fathers and even mothers in some cases telling me that they give these books to their kids, and it basically gives them a sense of pride about themselves, gives them a sense of self-worth, And again, that's the difference between an SJS Direct book and a book from one of these mainstream companies, or a character from one of these mainstream companies. When I create a character, it's a character that has themes that are, again, make pro-black and promote black empowerment, and also teach a sense of, again, self-worth and self-love to whatever reader picks it up. So when you read an SJS Direct book, again, the themes are completely different. The undertones are completely different. The message is completely different than anything you would read at one of these companies like Marvel, where, again, when we look at Black Panther, we see all of the anti-black messages in the undertones. And yes, your kids will be entertained by the late Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, and they would probably be entertained by the other MCU movies or The Little Mermaid. But the whole thing is, you don't understand that there's a poison in the undertones of these projects, and that poison is going to poison your mind to not really love being black, and to think that I need white acceptance in order to find my value as a black person. And that's a very toxic frame of thinking to have. God did not make you to seek white validation, because, again, he said in his first commandment, you shall have no other gods before me. And he also said to love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and strength. This is what Jesus said in his first commandment. So when I look at that message, again, in many of these movies, the undertones of white supremacy, the undertones of anti-black racism, that's the complete difference between SJS Direct and many of your mainstream books. And I want this reader and many others, or viewer, to go out here and try an SJS Direct book, because if you try an SJS Direct book, you're going to see a completely different message, completely different themes, completely different undertones, and that is what makes an SJS Direct book distinct. So I urge you to go out here and try an SJS Direct book by going out here and clicking the link in the description box, heading over to Amazon.com, and picking up many of the books I mentioned here in this video. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Esteemed Goddess of. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a demonic dominatrix in this action-packed all-new Esteemed series adventure. Get Esteemed Goddess of in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.